On this episode of the Mad Rush podcast.
You sometimes have to wake up at the crack of dawn and you're exhausted. And I'm not an early morning riser. So I throw on a dress that ended up being backwards and inside out. And I found out probably my second to last house when I looked down and I saw the tag, and I was mortified, but so confused as to why no one told me.
Welcome to the Mad Rush podcast. I'm Trisha Addicks, the original sorority rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. Welcome to episode 2 of Mad Rush. I'm so excited about my guest today. Joining me is the OG of It's All Greek to Me, besides me, Mary Harris Morgan.
Hello.
Mary Harris's mom, Kelly, is one of my favorite people on the planet and one of my best friends. And it's only fitting that she spawned one of my favorite people on the planet, Mary Harris. Mary Harris was with me from the beginning. When I decided to do It's All Greek to Me, I knew I needed help. And so she was my first call. She knows all things Greek life. Plus she's really smart. Plus she has mad computer skills. Plus, I just like to hang out with her. And I like to think that we're friends, even though I'm like a gazillion years older than she is. So Mary Harris created the original It's All Greek to Me Rush Bible. And she also created the logo and every version leading up to the logo that we have today. So I'm super excited for her to come talk. She was also my first mentor. When I started It's All Greek to Me, it was just me, and I had clients, and that got to be too much. It stressed me out, and I felt like I had 20 daughters going through Rush, and the stress was just not working for me. So Mary Harris was the first person that was a mentor, and the mentors, we now have, I think, 12 or 14 mentors. Why don't I know that? Hopefully some of the others will be on later in this season. But for now, Mary Harris has to be the first one on.
What an introduction. I don't feel worthy of that. And
oh my God, you're worthy of so much more, truly.
I'm so excited to be here and chit chat with you and talk all things Rush and sororities and gossip. So I'm pumped. Thanks for having me. And I'm honored to be one of your first guests.
You're my first guest. So there you go.
Okay, well, seriously, no pressure. What do you want to know? Should I do like my elevator pitch?
Why don't you talk about where you went to school and your Rush experience, which I know intimately. Mm-hmm. I took Mary Harris's pictures for her Rush resume. Remember that in the park?
Yes.
And you had a hat on, which I thought was super cool for some of them.
Super cool at the time.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that now.
Don't do hat. That was very unique to Mary Harris. And if you're listening out there and you are about to do your Rush resume, don't wear a hat.
No.
Not many people can pull it off. Mary Harris can. She's the coolest person I know. But so talk about where you went to school, your Rush experience, and what led you to be a part of other people's Rush journey.
Sure. I went to the University of Georgia, went in 2015. Graduated in 2019. My freshman year, I went through, spoiler alert, ended up getting a bid for AD Pi. But the summer leading up to it and then going into my Rush week, I was so naive, so ignorant, I think in the best way. And that led to an incredible and a really enjoyable Rush experience.
Which is also, spoiler alert, very rare.
Yes, very rare. But I think inherently growing up, I've always been a social person, and I've leaned towards craving those personal interactions. So Rush just felt like another day of high school to a degree. Obviously, bigger scale, right? I'm interacting with almost 2,000 girls at a time. But again, that goes back to my level of ignorance. I'm just kind of throwing myself into the deep end there.
Well, I think it comes really easily for you. Mary Harris was on the homecoming court and has a ton of friends, and she very much connects with people.
Yeah.
In a very genuine way, though.
Well, thank you. And that's where I found a lot of going through Rush, because I had an enjoyable experience. I think it was because I went in so open-minded, and the girls that I was meeting, the actives in each sorority, I think could genuinely tell that I was interested in every conversation, regardless of the sorority or who they were. So they left an impression on me, a lasting impression, so that when I ended up joining AD Pi, I knew that I wanted to return the favor almost. I wanted to be a person that a PNM met throughout the process, regardless.
Say what a PNM is for those who don't know.
A PNM is a potential new member. So those are the freshmen.
You're saying that when you were an active, when you were in AD Pi and doing Rush on the other side.
Mm-hmm. When I was a PNM, a potential new member, I had such great interactions with girls that I hoped I could return in favor as an active myself to the PNMs going through. So that's what led me to want to take on more leadership roles in my sorority and want to be that person for younger freshmen.
Were you a Rush chair twice?
I was, yes. So I went through as a freshman, loved the experience of Rush that I had as the PNM. And then sophomore year, you get to learn all of the ins and the outs of the process on the other side. And I was completely shocked at truly how much goes on behind closed doors, like the good, the bad, the ugly. And I just ate it up. Like, I just loved everything about it. I loved staying up super late, like reorganizing all of the lineups and doing last minute practice, song practices and whatnot.
So explain to the listener what lineups and song practices are. I mean, assume that you're preparing them for what they're going to see when they get to Rush.
When you're a PNM, I felt like I was a cow being herded like 9 hours out of the day. They're just like pushed and shoved, like one house after another. And when you're going through a house, you'll get to see performances, right, of these really chanty songs. Some of them are really obnoxious. Some of them are pretty catchy. But it takes 9-10 months of practice for the chapter leading up to that Rush week to get it perfect.
And now, since COVID, a lot of that, it starts with a video of the sororities, and that's their introduction to, there's no in-person interaction. What she's talking about, it's like that all week, but it's really intense, the first round. And it used to be, and I think most schools have kept that as the first round. Mm-hmm. But yes, so do you have any crazy stories from your going through Rush? And then anything that you want to share about behind the scenes?
Sure. I'll share 2 self-deprecating stories of my experience going through. You had alluded to this, I believe, in your first episode of the podcast, but I was that girl that ended up wearing my dress backwards, but not only backwards, but inside out for a whole day. And
yeah, I didn't have the details, so that's good.
Yeah. And I won't spare you all the details. When you're going through Rush, and the girls, PNMs listening to this, you sometimes have to wake up at the crack of dawn and you're exhausted. And I'm not an early morning riser.
No, she's
I
not.
don't have that like pep in my step in the morning. Anyways. So I throw on a dress that ended up being backwards and inside out. And I found out probably my second to last house when I looked down and I saw the tag. And I was mortified, obviously, but so confused as to why no one told me. Like I had high school friends that I would see in passing, right, as we're sprinting down Millage, but no one told.
Millage is the street that all the sorority houses are on.
Yes, no one told me. So I go home. I think I'm just like kicking myself, like, Mary Harris, you're such an idiot. You're not going to get asked back to any houses. Like, these people are going to think you're a disgusting freak. And so that
I
was,
feel like that's a little extreme. But didn't you laugh about it when you were in the last house, or maybe in that house?
when I realized it, I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to, if I don't bring it up, it's just going to be awkward for the person staring at my tag the whole time. And like with the inseams just like failing out. So I was like, oh, I just realized my shirt's inside out. Like, I'm indecent. Sorry. And it was a great conversation and everyone laughed about it. And it's stories like that where you can spin it. It humanizes the entire experience. And I think it kind of level sets where people remind themselves no one's perfect. Everyone's human.
That's very good. That's very good to remember during Rush and always, If you can laugh at yourself and or just remember that somebody else probably put their dress on backwards and inside out. I'm not sure that really would happen to someone else, but we're just going to go with that.
Oh my gosh, I would love to know if someone else has had a similar wardrobe experience like that. And there have been plenty of wardrobe crises where I had a girlfriend of mine going through and her dress was thin straps, came undone, and she's running around like this trying to make it to the next house, and she's just holding her dress up, sweating. Shoes have broken, heels. I mean, everyone sees everything, I'm sure. So
what was your other self-deprecating story that you had?
it's actually a two-parter.
Love a two-parter.
I was at one house, and again, you're being crammed into, it's 100 girls at a time being crammed into a really small foyer, and the girls are finishing up their song, their rah-rah, their chant. And one thing that you learn after going through Rush, if you take a bid and you're preparing your sophomore year, is there is a process behind, oftentimes, who picks up who. After they do the chant, you usually get assigned to an active, and then you'll have a conversation with them during that round. So I'm at a house.
She's saying it's not a mistake who comes out. So what happens in Rush, the sororities, they do their chants, and then they go and get a girl, basically, to be there to partner with for that round. And that's not a mistake who comes to get you.
Right. And I can't speak for every house at every school, right? But there's a method to the madness, and people really want to be intentional with who they're speaking to. So I end up not getting picked up by an active at all for an entire round. It's like
there's a confidence boost right there.
Right. So I'm waiting, and you don't know where to go in these situations. And everyone around me is, being greeted by an older girl, and I'm just waiting my turn. And then I realize that everyone has been paired off. So I'm standing in the foyer for the entire round, like truly just looking around, enjoying the decor.
Wait, you never got picked up?
I never got picked up. And
will you say what house it was, or should you not?
I mean, I don't mind saying it. It wasn't malicious by any means. I didn't know anyone. Can I say it?
Yeah, I think so.
It was AKO. It was, Alpha Chi.
Alpha Chi Omega.
It was AKO, and I didn't know anyone in there, but the house was beautiful. I loved
it's a really pretty house.
I loved the songs that they did. I just didn't know anyone.
You loved the song.
I loved the song.
You're so trying to make it okay for them. But so anyway, go ahead.
But I remember thinking oh, this is definitely not supposed to happen, because back in the day, in order to track and then ultimately rank the P&Ms that would go through, there would be a swap of, I would give the active my name card, and then they would track and make sure that, they have everyone. So because I didn't get picked up,
So you were holding your card the
I
whole
was
time?
holding my card the whole time. No one picked me up. And when the bell rang for everyone to leave, usually the active will walk you to the very end of their property, scream and chant, like, bye, Trisha. It was so good to see you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. No one did that to me.
This is hilarious. I can't believe I didn't know this story.
Yeah, I'm just like slowly shuffling myself out. And I end up just doing like the finger guns, just kind of like other girls, like, yeah. Like, woohoo. Thinking to myself, I didn't give anyone my name card. They're not going to know that I went through. For all they know, they could have thought I just didn't show up to the house. So I fully anticipated not getting asked back to the next round at AKO.
Right.
First house on my schedule for next round. AKO.
Really? Dang.
Yep.
Maybe they figured out that
I think it was the finger guns.
I think it was the finger guns too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, what's up with the freaky girl in the corner?
Yep.
Finger gun.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
And so you're the only person I know that could like handle that and finger gun out and make it okay.
Well, honestly, I enjoyed, I think, the break in conversation because I was so exhausted by that point. I just remember thinking, oh, this is awkward. This kind of sucks. And then going, I should take full advantage of this piece, this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have just taken a break, gotten a drink, hung out. Exactly. It's all good.
Yeah.
So what do you think the biggest mistake people make, based on your experience, the biggest mistakes people make when they go through rush?
Leading up to or the day of? I have so many.
Either one. Because you've had a lot of clients who you've had to beat it out of them. Not really. We don't hit our clients.
No.
But like, all right, you cannot do that during rush. And then sometimes they don't listen, and then they get in their own way. Yeah.
The most common thing that I see with a lot of girls, whether or not they're our clients, just any like 17, 18-year-old going through rush, is there's a sense of entitlement almost for a lot of girls that go in thinking it's going to be really easy, that they're owed a bid at a certain place. So one of my biggest what not to do's is think that you are above anyone else, thinking that you're above a sorority or above girls that are already in sororities. Does that make sense?
Totally. And it's just like anything else. I mean, confidence is so attractive, but cockiness is not.
Exactly.
And that line is sometimes a hard thing for people at any age to learn. But I think that you in particular have had some clients that thought they were the shit. They were coming in there. They're like, I've got this, mom gave me this, or mom and dad bought me this rush consultant, but, I don't need her. She, I'm the shit. I was cool in high school. And, it's you in particular. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I know you can handle it, but you've had to more than your share of girls that cockiness is not gonna.
And I am the oldest sister in my family and my personal life. So I act as a mentor, but I can also act as a very humbling older sister.
She has a great younger sister who is also an ADPI. And then she has a brother who was a KA at Georgia. And I believe he was president, right? Of KA?
Yeah.
But they're all very cool. They're all very, Mary Harris's family. Maybe that's why I gave you those clients, because you got to have a thick skin to be a Morgan. Yeah. I'm telling you, they do not they don't sugarcoat anything. And that works well with clients who need to be not taken down a notch, but just need to understand that even the coolest people need to not be entitled.
Yeah. And what's so great about the business that you've grown, Trisha, is these mentors can say almost the same things that
Oh, yeah.
Our customers, our clientele's parents and moms are saying. But as a daughter, and I can say this from personal experience, when my mother tells me something that I simply do not want to hear, or I just don't want to listen, it's not going to resonate with me. I don't care.
Right.
But when it comes from someone outside of your family, especially an older girl who's been in someone's shoes before, it can hit different.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's what I hear all the time. I talked to a lady today, and she called me and she said, I mean, I tell my daughter that she can't wear that because, or whatever. And she's like, she does not listen to me. And she's like, please, God, can I please have someone that she respects? And I mean, not that she doesn't respect her mom, but I mean, I don't have a daughter, and I wouldn't give my daughter-in-law advice. At least I hope I don't do that. Maggie, if you're listening, I don't ever want to give you advice. You don't need it. But I don't think, like you said, I don't think it hits differently from someone that has been in your exact shoes and been successful at it. And so, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. It's
the mother-daughter dynamic. Even if you have the very best relationship, and I know you have a great relationship with your mom, but even if you have the best relationship with your daughter, rush and preparing for rush is not the time to give advice. Even if you were the area chair of 80 Pi or whatever, your daughter doesn't want to hear it from you. She doesn't. And that time, Mary Harris is an exception. It's a pretty stressful time for a lot of people, and that is the time when parents, I tell them all the time, your job is to support her. She's going to call you crying because she's been cut from what she thought was her very best, the place she wanted to be. And you don't need to say, well, what did you do wrong?
right.
But what the mentor would do in that situation, she would never say, what did you do wrong? But all right, we need to figure out what your next step is. And that's the role that a mentor should do, not a mom.
Yeah. It's a completely different beast with trying to parent while going through a summer preparation for rush and the week of. Like there's
which is why I don't take clients anymore, because I felt like I had all these daughters going through and it was so stressful.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable for any party. I don't enjoy when my clients are so stressed out or having a really tough time, because I feel like a parent nature or sense to want to protect and just deflect everything bad in the world. But that's sometimes just not the case, and I can't do that. But I want to backtrack on a comment that you just made. I did, yes, have a really enjoyable and easy rush, but I want to preface with the fact that I went through at a time where social media did not have the same level of exposure on recruitment. So,
or in anything,
anything for that matter. And I would say this is a blanket statement, but I could say this since I went through in 2015. The majority of us that went through Rush at the time had generally great experiences. It wasn't nearly as competitive. We didn't have as many sororities on campus, but now it's become uncontrollable. That there is no way for you to go into Rush, in my opinion, as a P&M, being completely green about the experience or what to expect.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
And social media, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm not wrong, so you don't get to correct me.
You're never wrong, Trisha.
I was about to say I'm never wrong. So as long as we've established that, yep, then we're starting at a good place. But the minute you sign up for Rush, the minute you register for Rush, your social media needs to be on point, because they're going to start going through it. And that's, I'm doing this thing called Timeout with Trisha at the end of these episodes where you get the actual meat of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just social media is forever. And it's also what needs to be, your social media needs to be cleaned up, scrubbed, and rush appropriate. And, that's one thing that we do is we know what sororities are looking for and when they're looking at your social media, and do not kid yourself. They are looking at your social media, just like everything. It's just like if you're applying for a job,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have, I've read crazy horror stories about people, teachers or people in business who are putting stuff on social media and they lose their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's social media it's tough to navigate.
Yeah.
And you did not, you're right. I didn't have, obviously growing up, because I'm old as Methuselah, obviously anything like that. But if I had, that's just not a thing.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, and you also touched on something that I wanted to say, that there's a method to the madness. The person that picks you up, the sorority active that picks up PNMs. We had a client who, and I tell this story a lot, because you got to trust your instincts, or trust our instincts, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
She had put on her registration form that she was a dancer. So she was going through Rush. She went through Rush the entire week, paired. So like you said, they're you guys, the Rush chairs and the people that are in the sorority are putting in the work. And they're like, okay, this girl's a dancer. We're going to pair her with dancers.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets to the end of the week and she's been paired at a sorority that was not a good fit for her with dancers. So they did a great job rushing her. And she went to her mentor and said, all right, I'm going to cut the other two sorority. She had 3 options left and she had to pick 2. So she was going to cut one of the others that was a good fit for her, based on her being paired with a dancer the whole week. And so her mentor was like, wait a minute, that is not a good fit for you. And then at that point we stepped in and she ended up being president of the sorority that she was going to cut. So, point being, there's a lot of method to the madness, and there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. And like you said, it's good, the bad, and the ugly, and we know what's happening, but nothing is by mistake, except for maybe you being left in the foyer with nobody. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I can't even believe that happened to you.
I'm better for it, I think, and it's a good story to tell.
Yeah, it's a good story, which is good.
Yeah.
So, what do you think all right? So, especially in the press, and now that people know that Rush consultants exist, that's pretty much happened with Bama Rush last year. I get people, I see, I try not to live in the comments, and I have a really thick skin, but people trash sorority girls, and they trash the fact that we charge a lot of money to do what we do. I think, or I know that there is a need for it, and like you said, you can't go in green. You just can't. Whether it's using a Rush consultant or whether it's doing your own preparation. But what do you think the biggest misconceptions about sorority girls and Greek life are? I know what I think, but what do you think?
Okay, I'm interested to know what you think and see if ours are similar.
Well, I think that, especially with Bama Rush Talk, they have these girls that are, and if you are under a rock and you don't know what Bama Rush Talk was, it's this TikTok phenomenon that went viral, and it has been viewed over 7 billion times. There are 300 million people that live in the United States, but billion times people have looked at these Rush Talks, and it's these girls, and they were going through Rush at the University of Alabama, and they'd jump in the screen on the TikTok video and be like, hi, my name is Trisha. I am wearing I don't even know what brand this is. It's kind of bougie. But I'm wearing Steve Madden shirt, Lululemon skirt, Golden Goose shoes, and then they jump out of the screen, and then someone else would come in. It was the outfit of the day, hashtag outfit of the day. And so I felt like it made them look shallow and vapid, and vapid is a vocabulary word of the day. If you don't know it, look it up. But made them look kind of just superficial. And yes, rush is a superficial process. But what I felt it made them a misconception is that it made these girls look not smart. And overwhelmingly, the people that are in higher education, going to college and in sororities, they're smart and they're dynamic. And I mean, these are the people I see every single day. They're smart, they're dynamic, they're caring, they're genuine. I mean, I said that to my daughter-in-law and son. They live around the corner from Mary Harris and her soon-to-be husband. And Mary, they were saying how much they liked you when they see you. And I said, she's one of the most genuine people. I'll probably cry. It's true. But you are. And there are a lot of genuine, kind, great people out there. And I feel like the, TikToks and the sound bites that you're getting in the world are that sorority girls are not that way. And that's the biggest misconception that I see. And I work with these people, and I know I'm babbling and I asked you a question, but like I see the anxiety and the stress and I see it all. And it's really just people trying to find their people. That's really what it is. And they're doing it through Greek life, but they're not like these shallow people. It's just, and I feel like the media and movies and TikTok and all that's what's feeding those misconceptions. So how did I do answering your question?
You took the words out of my mouth and you said it better than how I would.
So you were going to say you were really genuine and kind too.
Oh gosh, no, not that part.
Just kidding.
Sneaky way to twist that. I agree with you. And the evolution of, I actually wouldn't even say that there's an evolution of the misconception of a sorority girl, because growing up, we saw it in the movies. The dumb party girl, unmotivated, not career driven. Right. Led for like a.
Which just to be fair, I went to Georgia with a 2.6 GPA, and I was a party girl. I wasn't dumb, but yeah. So that's changed a lot too. You can't get into these schools with a 2.6. I don't know. Yeah, no. But so continue. Yeah.
But I don't think TikTok and Rush Talk, Bama Talk is helping our case. If anything,
I don't either.
I think it's making it so much worse. I might get canceled for saying this, but we love, stirring the pot. But oftentimes if you go to the hashtag on TikTok and you click on Bama Talk, Rush Talk, there are a lot of people on TikTok that are posting, not for millions and millions of people to see, but they aren't like super intelligent and smart, but they're on there. So my point being is that there's always going to be, regardless of what you're doing, Rush or not, there's always going to be people like that. But the misconception comes from, as a whole, we are dumb, unmotivated, I think couldn't be farther from the truth. And Georgia especially, everyone in Greek life had involvement with a leadership role or an outstanding academic reputation outside of just being in a fraternity or sorority. And I don't think that, big SEC schools with Greek lives are given enough credit for that.
Well, and once you're in a sorority, it's the education, the grade, your grades, it's all amplified with Greek Rush and with Greek life. And you said Georgia especially, but it's like that across the South now. Mm-hmm. It's like I see a huge influx of clients from New York, and I talk about this in my podcast, just me, but from New York and California and Connecticut, they wouldn't have sent their kids south before, um, but now, I mean, for Auburn, for instance, the average GPA of this class of 2028 that's going in the fall is 4.2 out of 4.0.
Oh
And
my gosh.
that's Auburn. And I mean, what I'm saying, and I'm not dissing Auburn, but that same thing happened with Georgia, and it's happened across the board. We used to have to worry about clients not having not making grades, meaning they were coming from high school and they had a 3.0, and that's really tough,
Mhm.
or lower. That's tough. Nobody had one as bad as me, just saying. But it's really tough because sororities require certain grades. But now that's not even really a factor because nobody getting into these schools is has bad grades, and so these people, Northerners, California, wherever, they're now sending their kids south, and then they're like, wait a minute, my kid wants to be in a sorority. Whoa, what do I do? Like, it's, but these kids they're also super smart. They're super dialed in. They're, you know, the resumes that come across my desk, oh, I started a business. I'm like,
It's
what?
it's insane.
I was skipping tennis practice to go smoke cigarettes behind, in high school, like, and Mom, I know you're probably listening to this. My dad, rest in peace, would not be happy to hear that, but they caught me a few times. But, I was not. We weren't like in the 80s. It was the wild west is what it was.
Yeah, I would argue that if you're going to go through or participate in Greek life, you are applying twice. Your resume, your personality, your reputation is getting scrutinized twice. Once to get into the university itself, the college itself, and then the second time, which I would argue is even more difficult and more stressful, is when you are going to every sorority and trying to put your best foot forward. I mean, that alone is tough. And then, oh wait, hey, by the way, just to get to the second round of recruitment, you have to meet a threshold of an extremely high GPA. And I've had clients sit down with me and I say, okay, let's walk through your resume. And I'm looking and it's 3.2, which is
that's the bare minimum.
And I'm thinking, all right, well, let's go we're going to have to realistically level set here. There are 8 sororities that you wanted that you will not be asked back to.
Yeah, it's
and then a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people aren't privy to the level of competitiveness it takes to just get your foot in the door.
Okay, so lastly, before we end, I want you to say, because I know I'm still a little confused why I'm not a bridesmaid, but I know that some of your bridesmaids are your sorority sisters. Like, I feel like one of the things that we're talking about, the grades and the dynamic and the resume and the philanthropy, we didn't mention that, but all sororities support a philanthropy, and the sorority members are really invested in these philanthropies. But let's talk about the friendships. Like, I mean, how many bridesmaids do you have besides me?
Well, first of all, you know why you're not a bridesmaid or a
because I would outshine you.
110%.
I knew you were going to say that. I know you so well. I knew you were going to say that. I've literally known Mary Harris since she was born.
Yeah.
So I can kind of know what she's going to say before she says it.
And I'm too vain to have someone prettier up there standing right next to me.
Exactly. That's true. You are too vain to have me up there. But so
acceptable.
Now we know why I'm not a bridesmaid, but
so I basically just
smoking hot looks.
I basically just inadvertently called all of my friends ugly.
Oh yeah, you did. You just called all your bridesmaids ugly. It's hilarious.
Sorry, girls, because I know that they're listening to this too.
But so yeah, let's talk about. I mean, the deep friendships that come from this, and specifically your wedding, which is going to be the wedding of the century. I'm very excited about it.
Thanks.
Mary Harris's mom, Kelly, is she's a designer. I wouldn't say she designed this office because she did, but then I had to change it for the podcast and I'm scared to even tell her. But she's like uber talented and she has this level of taste that is, regardless of how much it cost, if Mary Harris's wedding was going to be $5, it would be the most exquisite $5 wedding ever. But so I keep talking and asking you questions. So talk about the friendships.
Oh, I love my friends. Everyone is so envious of my friend group, and I truly believe that. I can die on that hill. We are so close, and it really is all because of 80 Pi. I think we really did luck out with one of the best pledge classes in the past 6-7 years. And a big chunk of us moved back to Atlanta. So we spent 4 years getting to know each other, spending every day together. And then the next 4, now 5 years going through our second chapter of life together, like being young professionals in Atlanta working. And we're just all thick as thieves, attached to the hip still. I feel like I'm still living a sorority life in a sense where I'm having sleepovers with my best friends and they're coming over here and having sleepovers still. It's like we're in a sorority house oftentimes. And Carson loves it because it's just more activity.
Carson's her fiance.
Yes, Carson is my fiance.
He went to Ole Miss.
He did. Hottie toddy.
Hottie toddy. That's where my youngest son, Charlie, went. That's a very amazing place.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we can talk about that school too for hours and hours. No, but we
can just talk about the Grove for hours and hours.
Oh my gosh.
What we remember of it.
Yeah, what little I remember of it. My friends are my world, my heart. And
well, it takes being a good friend to have good friends. And you are but you all are to each other. And that's a gift that 80 Pi gave you. And it's beautiful to see. I hosted with some other of her parents' friends. I'm lucky enough to be really close friends with Mary Harris's mother and mom and dad and Carson, her fiance's parents. I think my claim to fame at the engagement party we hosted was that I was the only one that was the really close friends with both families. But anyway, it's really fun to see your friends. And did I tell you Ford's friend, I forget what his name was, maybe Sam, came up to me and said, "Ma'am, I'd just like to say you have beautiful jewelry." I was like, "Who are you? And what are you doing?" It was so funny. And then, of course, I was obsessed with him the whole night. So, okay. So lastly, and I would like to say I would like to touch on the friendship thing too. I still have 2 girls' trips, 2 different groups. Because I pledged as a sophomore, I have friends that are my age that were not in my pledge class, but we still do a girls' trip. And the name of our group chat is Old Shoes. And then I have another girls' trip. This is through Chi Omega at Georgia that we still do girls' trips and from girls from my pledge class who I'm super tight with. And that's, like 15 years after college. I'm just kidding. It's like 35 years. Anyway. So we touched on hashtag OOTD outfit of the day, but for Mad Rush podcast, we're doing something called hashtag observation of the day. Mm-hmm. So you're guinea pig guest, your ground zero guest. So what is your hashtag observation of the day? It can be anything.
I know. And I'm so glad that I read over a few of these prompt questions, especially this one, because if you had put
I was like, I gotta help her out. I gotta help a sister out. So
and if you hadn't have given me the example, I definitely would have said the one that you gave me is that I consume a significantly more ounces of tequila in the summer than I do in the winter.
Yeah, that was the example I used. I was like, it can be even how much that you drink more tequila in the summer.
Yeah. Because in the wintertime, I go to whiskey or bourbon.
And then all of my kids, friends, and mentors, all y'all do dry January. Like
Mm.
it's a thing. And old people like us, we're like, yeah, we're not giving up a month. I mean, some people do. But anyway, what's your observation of the day?
Okay, I have two. And this also could be hot takes. So I was at a workout class this morning, not to,
Wedding bod.
right. We've got to start somewhere. And I went to solid core, and I hate that class with every fiber in my being, but I know that it'll get me like at least maybe like 1 out of 6 pack abs. Like if I just see something, I'll be fine. And I cuss for all of my friends that are listening and that join me in solid core. I audibly cuss. I am just saying like, holy shit, this sucks. Like, ugh. And at the end of the classes, almost without fail, the instructor's like 30 more seconds, and then you're out that door, high five your neighbor, and you can leave. Class is over, and I'm looking for my high five. Like I want a high five. And my observation is, why don't people celebrate each other after a class like that? Like no one's really super pumped. But yes, I at least deserve a high five.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And then
for that class and everything else that you do, but yes.
Well, no, just for that class. Like I don't need. I actually need a standing ovation for going from one solid book.
I've not even heard of that, and I don't want to go.
It's miserable, but I mean, it's a great workout. And then my other observation that I actually was, as I was scrolling through TikTok, is that Sabrina Carpenter's boyfriend, Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, I'm so old. I don't know who either one of those people are, but I'm going to look them up.
Anyways, I'll send you her music video. Barry is actually attractive, I
think. Well, that's a good observation, and now I'm going to have to look him up.
But you're going to think he looks like a rodent, because there's now a summer trend where they're calling some attractive men like rodent attractive. And he falls.
Oh, is that a new thing?
Yeah. Yep. You know, last year it was like, I want a summer short king. This year it's, I want a rodent. I want a rodent boyfriend.
Is that the same thing as dad bod?
Similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Similar concept.
Yeah. I can't get behind that. Yeah, I don't know, but okay. I'm going to look him up. Mm-hmm. The rodent guy.
But listen to her new song, Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter. What's her name? I'll send it to you. Okay, Sabrina Carpenter. It's really catchy.
Any other observations? You're good. I so appreciate you being here. I so appreciate you. I love you so much. That's what we always say to each other.
I love you so much, Pookie. I love you so much.
Pookie.
Well, I would do anything for you. And I have one closing statement, because I have to support my fellow 80 Pie sisters. So the top that I'm wearing is actually created and designed by one of my sorority sisters and her other 2 sisters. So the line is called Shop Melbourne. And
I heard about that. Maggie, my daughter-in-law, has some cute jeans.
Yep.
So what's their Instagram handle?
I think it's at Shop Melbourne.
And that's MELBOURNE?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't know. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes. Fabulous.
That's a good look. Mm-hmm. We'll put that in our style guide.
Yes. Yes.
At the end of my book that I wrote.
For sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and you're the best.
I love you more.
Welcome to Time Out with Trisha. Because can you really give advice if you don't speak about yourself in the third person? I don't think so. This is exactly how I speak to my clients. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Now let's get into it. So today you heard Mary Harris talking about all the preparation that the sororities do for Rush. You also need to do a lot of preparation for Rush. One of the main things you need to do is to practice conversations that you're going to have during these parties. They're hot, they're stressful, and they're nerve-wracking. So think about ahead of time what you want to say and how you want to portray yourself. A tip for doing this is when someone asks you a question, hey, where are you living? Instead of answering with the name of your dorm, answer with the name of your dorm and then where did you live your freshman year? Answer a question with a question. It keeps the conversation going. Now, for Rush specifically, there are things you should not talk about. There are exceptions to this rule, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit. But even if you don't use an exception, you don't talk about these things. These are called the 6 B's. You may have heard about the 5 B's. We add a 6th. First off, booze. Don't talk about drinking, going out to bars, getting drunk. No sorority wants to give a bid to a potential standards, which is a rule enforcement concern. Just keep it PG on that part. Second, boys. Don't ask which fraternities the sororities hang out with the most, and don't talk about boyfriends, yours or theirs. Bucks. Nobody cares how much money you have, period. I don't care what school you're going to. They don't care. And if they do care, they're going to look it up in secret. Brands. Don't brag about expensive things. This kind of goes with bucks, but if you're complimenting on your outfit, say thank you. If they ask what brand you're wearing, you can answer them, but don't be show-offish. Don't lead with your brands. Follow their lead with discretion. Bible. Avoid talking about religion. That's, again, there's a little bit of an exception to this. Some cases can occur where the active members you're talking to mention their faith. If they do that and you feel like that's something you want to talk about with them, that's okay, but just don't lead with it. Don't be the first to bring it up. And finally, ballot. I run into this with clients before that are very passionate about either being a Democrat or a Republican, and that's very off-putting. I feel like it's off-putting in any conversation, but especially during Rush. You have no idea what the beliefs are the person you're speaking with are, what beliefs the person you're speaking with have, so don't bring it up, even if you're passionate about it. In addition to the 6 B's, there are a few other things I want to mention. First off, don't talk about going to another sorority house. It's a compliment to be asked back to a sorority for another round. Don't talk about another sorority or mention another active's name from a different sorority. Your time at each house is limited. If you mention another sorority, it's insinuating that you'd rather be there than where you are. Stay in the present and stay with the person that you're talking to. Don't be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nelly. And those descriptions come directly from Mary Harris's mouth. These are the worst types of people. Nobody wants to talk to someone who's all Eeyore. No, everything's good. No. Make sure that you're positive and you're upbeat and you're excited to be there. Even if you're not, fake it till you make it. Another common Rush pitfall is RBF. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up, but I'm here to tell you, resting bitch face. You have got to look like you are happy to be where you are, even if you are sweating, hot, exhausted. It's a long week. You're not getting much rest. You're tired. You're stressed out. Don't let it show on your face. Keep a smile. You don't have to look like the Joker the whole party, but make sure that you look pleasant and happy to be there. Quit the fidgets. Make sure that you're not messing with your hair, playing with your bracelet. At some schools, you'll get a card, which is like an attendance card, and you'll hand that to the person that's taking you around for that party. Don't pick at the card. Don't use it as a cuticle cleaner. Just keep your hands to yourself and not messing with yourself. That also goes for don't touching your hair. And the number one worst thing you can do in Rush and in life, but in Rush, do not act bored. Do not act bored. You are so excited to learn about whatever they're telling you about. And that goes for if you're in a job interview or pretty much any part of life. If I'll be out telling a story and someone will start to space out and look, and then I just trail off. It's very awkward. It's terrible. Listen, engage, and don't act bored. And that's it for Time Out with Trisha. We'll see you on another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast.